Just make things darker, which could be deadly.
So much for a little pussy in a quiet night. That's one.
Yo, they went and found the most jacked looking Latino brother to play the lead, yo. It's awesome though. You gotta stick with the winning formula, right? See if it ain't broke, why fix it? Well, guess what, Black America? This US of A has been broken since its inception because of something called slavery. And ever since then, the descendants of that something called that something, that according to Kanye was a choice, but we're gonna leave that alone. What up, Ye? Or is it Yay? Is it Ye or Yay? I don't know. The Dodgers in the playoffs, huh? I guess they were serious about that. I guess they were serious about making the playoffs. Oh, my bad. Assalamu alaikum, white supremacy. Oh, my bad. Trump America. My mistake. Yo, if you don't live in the DMV, you don't know about GoGo, look up GoGo. Just get on YouTube and search for Backyard Band, BYB, Rare Essence. Just search for any one of those three. You'll be alright. Okay, let's see here where we at. Let me see if I can find this thing I stumbled upon earlier. Let me see here, mobile bookmarks. This is from Slate last year, from Slate.com specifically. It's under the politics section. It says America could look like North Carolina by 2020. Yikes! That yikes is not from me, that's from the article. It's by Mark Joseph Stern. And it reads, let me see here. It reads, Republicans in the Tar Heel state are attacking the courts, the environment, voting rights, protesters, and immigrants. They are giving us a glimpse of America under 4 years of Trump. April 27th of 2017 by Mark Joseph Stern. It says, what happens when Republicans have enough power to do virtually anything they want? On the federal level, that's still an open question. We will find out if Democrats fail to mount meaningful resistance to President Donald Trump by 2018, or if Republicans stop infighting long enough to realize how strong they already are. But on the state level, North Carolina provides us a preview. Thanks to gerrymandering that has been ruled to be unconstitutionally racist, Republicans hold veto-proof majority in both chambers of the state's General Assembly. A federal court ordered new districts and special elections this year, but the Supreme Court blocked them. This week, Republicans rushed to pass a slew of bills that could permanently damage the state's courts, elections, universities, and the environment. They also provide a glimpse at the havoc congressional Republicans in Washington could wreak with just a few more votes in the House and Senate. You know what? That was a mouthful, so I'm gonna read that again. But it is true though, the numbers are not lying at all. You know what I mean? These words were written over a year ago, about a year and a half or so ago. So in 18 months, like literally the November 2018 elections that Mark Joseph Stone was talking about, the glimpse that it was giving us, is upon us right now. It's upon us within the next, literally within the next 36 days. So there's a tide in the affairs of men which taken at the floods leads on to great fortunes. Shakespeare wrote that. All he was pretty much saying is it's now or never. You know what I mean? That's all Shakespeare was saying. Ask any of your English teachers right now who, you know, that's what he was saying. What happens when Republicans have enough power to do virtually anything they want? On the federal level, that's still an open question. We'll find out if Democrats fail to mount meaningful resistance to President Donald Trump by 2018, or if Republicans stop infighting long enough to realize how strong they already are. We, Trump America, please ignore that last part. You know, but on the state level, though, North Carolina provides us a preview. Thanks to gerrymandering that has been ruled to be unconstitutionally racist, Republicans hold veto-proof majorities in both chambers of the state's General Assembly. That means that if the Republican legislature passes a law in North Carolina right now that says that any man they see walking around with his pants sagging, if they pass that law right now that says that anyone they see walking around sagging, they're literally going to arrest and lock him up for 30 days. If they pass that law right now, nothing can stop them in North Carolina for that law to become law and become effective. You think you think we've been oppressed by? I'm just saying, put it that way. That's what veto proof means. You know what I mean? I digress though. But on the state level, North Carolina provides us a preview. That sounds like gunshots. That's not fireworks. That's not fireworks right there, yo. See, now y'all probably can't hear that, but out my window right now tonight is not helicopters. Those were shots, you know what I mean? Like, except for a lie. I digress. Back to Mark Joseph Stone. But in the state level, North Carolina provides us a preview. Thanks to gerrymandering that has been ruled to be unconstitutionally racist, Republicans hold veto-proof majorities in both chambers of the state's General Assembly. A federal court ordered new districts and special elections this year, but the Supreme Court blocked them. The Supreme Court, where the racist rapist Brett Kavanaugh trying to get on, yeah. So, you know. This week, Republicans rushed to pass a slew of bills that will permanently damage the state's courts, elections, universities, and the environment. They also provide a glimpse at the havoc congressional Republicans in Washington could wreak with just a few more votes in the House and Senate. Start with the state judiciary, which has been under attack from North Carolina Republicans since Democrat Roy Cooper won the governorship in November. In March, Republicans voted to strip Cooper of the authority to fill vacancies on district courts and the state Supreme Court, delegating that task to the legislature instead. They also shrunk the state Court of Appeals from 15 judges to 12 in a shameless attempt to stop Cooper from replacing 3 Republican judges set to step down during his term. After Cooper vetoed the bill, one of those Republican judges stepped down early in protest of the GOP's chicanery. Did I just mess up that word? Okay. In case that did not come through clearly enough, it also shrunk the state of appeals. Wow. After Cooper vetoed the bill, one of those Republican judges stepped down early in protest of the GOP's chicanery, allowing Cooper to appoint a Democrat. But Republicans promptly overrode his veto. Then, apparently out of spite, the House, led by the Republicans, passed a bill that requires the Democratic governor, Roy Cooper, to replace any other court of appeals judges who vacate his or her seats early with a member of the same political party. Cooper could therefore be barred from replacing Republican judges with Democratic ones. That's North Carolina, yeah. And that's what's happening at the federal level right now with this dumbass in office and his Republican racist cohorts. So go to hell if what you're thinking is not right. Love will never leave us alone. I am the darkness that must come out the light. Could you be love? So I tell you, I just did all that with that Bob Marley, but I'm so hoping his estate doesn't come after me, because I would love for this to be out there. Just let this be out there. I'm sorry, yeah. Tough gong music. Please don't come after me like I'm thinking you might. Legislative Republicans are still well aware that Cooper could threaten their dominance. As governor, he is empowered to roll back the GOP voter suppression measures. Under state law, Cooper can appoint 3 Democrats to the 5-member state election board, which in turn can appoint 2 Democrats to each 3-member county election board. Under Republican control, these boards implemented rules designed to prevent minorities from casting ballots, accomplished primarily through slashing early voting and moving precincts out of majority black areas. When Cooper took office, he should have been able to reverse this disenfranchisement. To forestall that possibility, Republicans attempted to restructure the boards in December. This was December 2016 now. Expanding and dividing them evenly between Republicans and Democrats to create constant deadlock. A court struck down this overhaul as a flagrant violation of the state constitution, but Republicans promptly resuscitated it with minor tweaks. Cooper vetoed the measure, but Republicans overrode his veto on Monday. The governor's office has already filed suit against the new law. While he moves through the courts, he will be barred from taking control of the board and restoring voting rights throughout the state. Next, the GOP took aim at sanctuary cities, which declined to cooperate with federal agents attempting to locate, detain, and deport undocumented immigrants. North Carolina does not actually have any sanctuary cities, but the Senate voted to defund them anyway, and then went on to make all North Carolina's vigilantes in the state's fight against undocumented immigrants. The new bill allows residents to anonymously report their local government or law enforcement agencies to the Attorney General if they believe officials are not complying with state immigration laws. Individual residents can actually sue cities, counties, and law enforcement agencies that safeguard undocumented immigrants. And universities are prohibited from protecting undocumented students by declining to turn over information about students' immigration status to the feds. Man, they're doing so much just to continue their racist beliefs, yo. This is crazy. You know how much time, energy, and manpower it takes to put the effort into doing all these things to just stop people from getting something basic as living in a home and getting a job and going to fucking school. But I digress. Republicans also found time to ensure the further degradation of North Carolina's environment. A GOP-sponsored bill already passed by both the House and the Senate, both controlled by Republicans, strictly limits nuisance lawsuits brought against hog farmers in the state. Can't go after their pork now. Due to already lax regulations, hog farms can currently drain their pigs' manure into giant cesspools called lagoons and then empty the lagoons by spraying the fecal slurry into farmlands as fertilizer. This foul-smelling waste disproportionately impacts blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who are more likely to live near hog farms than whites, by damaging their respiratory systems and dramatically reducing the quality of their lives and value of their land. Yo, it is so many young black kids who miss school every year because of asthma. Y'all know. If you're a black mother out there, you know what I'm talking about. But freaking whatchamacallit, color of law delves into that, how so many of those industrial facilities were put into place by the government and state policies. Shit is sad. I digress though. To remedy the problem, many affected residents banded together and filed lawsuits against the farmers, alleging that their operations created an unlawful nuisance. Hog farmers responded by demanding that Republican legislators, to whom they donate a great deal of money, shield them from liability. Republicans happily complied. Their new bill protects hog farmers and other agricultural businesses from such lawsuits. And finally, just for good measures, House Republicans passed a bill prohibiting protesters from suing drivers who run them over if they are blocking traffic, as long as the driver exercises due care. Oh man. Thank God Virginia doesn't have that law, huh? Oh man, these people are wild, yo. These people are wild as hell. And finally, just for good measure, House Republicans in North Carolina, mind you, not in Virginia or Charlottesville, Virginia, House Republicans passed a bill prohibiting protesters from suing drivers who ran over them if they are blocking traffic, so long as the driver exercises, quote, due care. What is due care in this case? Stop and leave their name, number, and insurance information after they run them over? Okay. North Carolina's swift descent into madness should send congressional Republicans into fits of envy and terrify the rest of us. It's already parallel to what Trump is attempting to do. He has signed a few bills killing off environmental regulations, including one that prevented coal companies from dumping mining waste into streams. Flint, Michigan. He also attempted to crack down on undocumented immigrants in sanctuary cities while mulling an attack on voting rights. To some extent, of course, Trump has succeeded. His executive orders unleashing federal immigration agents, for instance, have resulted in a nationwide assault on immigrant communities. He has appointed a conservative justice to a stolen Supreme Court seat and temporarily curbed the rights of Muslim immigrants. But without more allies in Congress and more cooperation among his existing allies, Trump cannot get to the juiciest parts of his agenda. His dreams of mass deregulation, environmental degradation, nativist immigration laws, and a true takeover of the courts that are mostly on ice right now. Did y'all hear that? You know what I mean? Like the things that are literally in limbo right now. That's why this is so important that there's a black and brown led blue wave. There's already gonna be a white blue wave. That's a given. White folks are gung ho about voting. White folks are always voting. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's the cold hard truth. You know what I mean? Numbers don't lie, and this is America for better or for worse. But quite literally, support needed from everybody else who don't usually vote. But without more allies in Congress, that means with less Republicans, that's why I say I can't say you to vote for. I can just say you don't vote for a Republican because we need less of them. With less allies without more allies in Congress or more cooperation among his existing allies, the ones that are there now, we got to get rid of them and prevent some more like him to get in there and make sure people like him are not in there and continue there year after year after year after year. You get a birthday every year. Why don't you vote every year? It makes sense. It go hand in hand. You know what I mean? It's like spending and saving. If you spending your money, you ain't gonna save it. But if you saving it, you gonna spend it less. That makes sense. I wish I listen to my own advice sometimes, especially when it comes to that. But without more allies in Congress or more cooperation among his existing allies, Trump cannot get to the juiciest parts of his agenda. If you think this motherfucker's been that bad already, he ain't. He ain't even get. Let me stop though. Let me just redo what Mark talking about over here. Trump cannot get to the juiciest parts of his agenda. His dreams of mass deregulation, environmental degradation, nativist immigration laws, and the true takeover of the courts are mostly on ice right now. Republican infighting has thwarted any significant legislative achievement, forcing Trump to govern through executive orders that are vulnerable to legal challenges. But he still has nearly 4 years to consolidate power. We're halfway on that 4, yeah. We're halfway on that 4. We've been doing good so far. Let's make sure the last 2 of that 4. Let's make sure the third and fourth quarter of his first term. Thank you, Barack. I hadn't invoked your name yet, you know what I mean? I had to go there. But we got to make sure the third and fourth quarter of his first term, let's make sure he only has 1 game, not 2 games. You know what I mean? This is not a, yeah. Well, yeah, let's make sure the other 2, though. He's the lamest of lame ducks of lame duck president. As lame as he is, let's make him the lamest duckies of duckies. See, sorry, now let me stop. Republican infighting has thwarted any significant legislative achievement, forcing Trump to govern through executive orders that are vulnerable to legal challenges. But he still has nearly 4 years to consolidate power, subdue the courts, and bring the GOP to heel. North Carolina today shows us what the United States will look like if Trump and congressional Republicans succeed. It is a warning sign. It is a warning sign that we ignore at our own peril. We gotta do it. We gotta do it, man. We gotta do the damn thing, yo. We gotta do the damn thing. We gotta do the damn thing, yeah. We gotta do the damn thing. Let me see what else. Let me see what else. I got over 100 bookmarks out here, man. I got a bunch of shit here. Okay. It's official. Let's see here. Oh, this was good. This was from July the 6th of 2015. It is from usnews.com. It says that it is official. The United States is becoming a minority-majority nation. That is an awesome phrase, minority-majority. Majority-minority. Like the Hispanics are the majority-minority right now. But the United States, and because of that, partly, mainly because of that, the United States is becoming a minority-majority nation. That makes sense. Census data shows there are more minority children under age 5 than whites. They may not know it, but for kids under the age of 5, the day the United States became a minority-majority nation has already arrived. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, in 2014, there were more than 20 million children under age 5 living in the U.S., and 50.2% of them were minorities. Parents who identify their child as white with Hispanic origins were the largest minority, making up 22% of the 19.9 million children under age 5, followed by African American children who make up 15%. Currently, the census considers Hispanic not a race but an ethnic background. Hispanics can be of any race, and Hispanic origin is asked on census forms in a question separate from the one about race. But some say that the way the census counts who belongs to which racial group is flawed. The census suffers from binary thinking, Professor Richard Alba of City University of New York said in a phone interview. Some people are both majority and minority. This is because the Census Bureau, not the respondent, decides into which racial category a person falls. If a child has a white parent and a black parent, or if the child's parents identify themselves as white but do not check the box for not Hispanic or Latino, the child is categorized as a minority. Still, the number of minority and mixed race children in the US are only expected to rise. More than half of the nation's children are expected to be part of a minority race or ethnic group by 2020. The US Census Bureau reports, referring to all children under the age of 18. All right, I'm gonna say that last paragraph again because that was a lot mouthy. So we're gonna let me see here. Still, the number of minority and mixed race children in the US are only expected to rise. That's why that whole black brown wave that I'm talking about. You see how our children were literally at that point in society in the history of time going into the age of Aquarius, according to Dr. Victoria Sweet. We're literally at that point right now where good habits have to be built in the next generation of minorities coming up in these United States of America. I'm just speaking on some things, yeah. I mean, I expect Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, little dumbass, to do anything they can to get me out of the United States. I'm not mad at that. Send my ass back to the motherland. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm just asking minority America, the ones that are gonna be living here, having to put in 40 hours a week, this and that, trying to make sure that they make ends meet. Paying this bill here and not being able to pay this full complete bill this month because your paycheck ain't right because you had to miss one day because you had to take your 7-year-old to the hospital. He had to miss school or she had to miss school or she had a tummy ache. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking to the millions of people. The minority, the, the majority of the minorities out there making less than $75,000 a year, who by definition of that 75,000 a year benchmark does not exist or does not even make a blip on the radar of this racist leader that we have in chief right now. Still, the number of minority and mixed race children in the US are only expected to rise. More than half of the nation's children are expected to be part of a minority race or ethnic group by 2020. 2020, by the way, will be 100 years since the 19th Amendment, which gave women certain human rights that they had deserved before that. But my mind went out of the left field for a second. More than half of the nation's children are expected to be part of a minority race or ethnic group by 2020, the US Census Bureau reports, referring to all kids under the age of 18. The minority population is expected to rise to 56% of the population by 2060. So, okay, minority population is right. Compared with 38% last year. Oh man, that would be awesome, yo. Alright, this is a big if now. If by some hook or crook, if by some miracle, by some God-like miracle, because by definition a miracle is a sent like God event. If by some miracle, by the hands of God, black and brown America refuses to become enemies, refuses to become enemies they aren't, or refuses to be enemies, especially black to black, brown to brown, and black to brown anyway, you know what I mean? If those two races of B and B decides to actually not be enemies and actually get on an individual collective level where the civic duty of voting becomes a trait, becomes a habit. At the point where 48 years from now, or 42 years from now, in 2060, when the minority population is expected to be 56% of the total population, the next 50 after that 48 will be a piece of cake because you wouldn't have to worry about so much disenfranchisement and gerrymandering, because by that time we will have a whole generation of under 18-year-olds right now that are minority, that are part of a minority race or ethnic group, that will be active participants in the civic process. Does that make sense? That's what that laugh and that chuckle was about. That's that moment in every black man's mind where you discover nirvana, where you discover that new day on that horizon that Oprah talks about. But my mind had a afro orgasm for a second. I'm sorry, yeah. Still, the number of minority and mixed race children in the US are only expected to rise. More than half of the nation's children are expected to be part of a minority race or ethnic group by 2020, the US Census Bureau reports, referring to all kids under the age of 18. The minority population is expected to rise to 56% of the total population in 2060, compared with 38% this year. Damn, we're only 38% minorities. That's not bad. That's good. That's about what? About 120 or so million? That's not too bad. When that happens, no group will have a majority share of the total, and the US will become a plurality nation of racial and ethnic groups, the US Census states. The minority-majority trend reflected among 5-year-olds is the beginning of that shift. Now I hear the sirens. Between the time I heard the gunshots and now hearing the sirens, how long has that been? I digress. I'm sorry. This is, I am living in a minority majority community. I'm trying so hard to laugh and break down, but I'm gonna give people the benefit of the doubt and be like, alright, yeah, I get it. The minority majority trend reflected among 5-year-olds is the beginning of that shift. We are a much more diverse country than we are, said Professor Andrew Charlin, a sociologist at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Groups in America are mixing more than we think. Current rates of immigration are high and intermarriage is increasing, Charlin added in a phone interview. A record 14.6% of all new marriages in the US in 2008 were between people of two different races or ethnicity. I call that the Obama effect. What? What? I call that the Obama effect right now. Let me stop. I'm not giving. I'm not gonna give Fox News for the father towards my brother. That was not supposed to rhyme, but it came out rhyming right. A record 14.6% of all new marriages in the US in 2008 were between people of two different races or ethnicities, according to a social and demographics trend report by the Pew Research Center. And the children of these couples reflect America's changing demographics. Multiracial children of black and white descent were the largest group in 2014, according to the Census Bureau, making up 36% of the multiracial population under 18. The two or more races population is projected to be the fastest growing group over the next 46 years. I'm asking for 50, so 46 years sound about the same. Listen. With its population expected to triple in size. The census breaks down the two or more races category as white combining with any other race, i.e. American Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian, or Black. That was an awesome read. Speaking of my boy Stephen Miller, right? I got something for you. I got something for Stephen Miller here, man. If I can find it. If I can find it. Baby, forever loving ya. Baby, forever loving ya. I got something on Stephen Miller here written by somebody who went to school with him or something. If you don't know who Stephen Miller is, that's the guy who disrespected Maya Angelou because, according to him, Maya Angelou is racist because of her. I think I think of because of her vote, because she voted for Obama, because of her support for Obama, something like that. I could be mixing that up, you know what I mean? But let me see here. Let me see here. Mm. So, Trump's first power, take my party, please. How Republicans ran from the party of Lincoln. This ain't it. This ain't it. Let me see if I can find it. I'm happy. I told you I'm kinda not one of the social media advanced user kind of person people thinking. If that makes sense. Let me see. Hillary is not on the Democrat side. The Minnesota nurse, a libertarian case for social short enrollment period, the Supreme Court ethics problem, the GOP, the family that built an empire of pain, John Kelly loves America, and New York. I want this for George. This was from the Atlantic, the president who doesn't read. We're gonna get to that. Oh yeah, there we go. This is from the Crimson.com. And it is title is by Nicholas Cuneo. My undergraduate campus troll is now senior advisor. Let me see. And this is the guy who's I can't say advising because his shit is going beyond advising. You know what I mean? So his is gone beyond advising now. President alternate universe. If it does come up, This was from February 16th of last year, right? So bear with me here now. Bear with me here. I'm telling you, this is in the alphabet show, so it's okay. I'm doing this on the fly, people. I'm doing this on the fly. Why my music stop? Let me stop. Turn my music on. Turn the beats on my headphones. Ain't that right? Ain't that what you say? But this is from thecrimson.com. It is from the Harvard Crimson. If you don't know where I'm going with it, it's by Nicholas Cuneo, Cuneo, and it was published on February the 16th of 2017. It's in the op-ed section. It said, "My undergraduate campus troll is now senior advisor to the president." This was a month after Trump took office. In the fall of 2005, I opened a copy of my undergraduate college daily paper, the Duke Chronicle, to find a debut editorial by Stephen Miller, now senior policy advisor to President Trump. In it, Miller divided Duke as a leftist university, taking aim at everything from Duke's effort to multiculturalism to the dearth of registered Republicans among its facility. One of his targets stood out in particular, Maya Angelou. Miller detested that Angelou was invited as a regular speaker at Duke's freshman orientation. I can imagine you must have been very excited to hear her speak, especially since the orientation pamphlet lauded her legendary wisdom, known outside of academic circles as tired multicultural cliches. He said, claiming that she was consumed by racial paranoia, Miller felt Angelou did not deserve a standing invitation. Who was this white kid from Santa Monica who was going out of his way to belittle a civil rights icon in his initial public foray? I found it hard to believe a classmate could be so obtuse. It soon became clear that Miller was actually quite deliberate in his attacks, routinely seeking to offend and provoke, often at the expense of his arguments. Miller Time, the moniker given to his series, took aim at many groups: the Black Student Union, feminists, LGBT people, Muslims, and immigrants, among others. Is it any surprise him a Trumper, buddy? Let me stop, yo. That was my opinion, not Nicholas's opinion. Above all, he despised political correctness, devoting an entire article to lamenting how Christmas was being banned and exclaiming that America was settled, founded, and pioneered by people who celebrated Christmas. Miller is Jewish, by the way. His vitriolic words became ammunition against what he perceived as the politically correct leftist agenda. With each inflammatory, dehumanizing diatribe, Miller became more visible and more widely detested on campus, becoming the ultimate campus troll. Miller has since gained much greater notoriety, having earned the dubious distinction of writing significant portions of Trump's inaugural address as well as some of his recent executive orders, including the so-called Muslim ban. While disappointed, I cannot say I am surprised based on everything he said as an undergraduate. In lambasting Duke University's Black Students Union for a protest they'd organized against a conservative pundit, Miller offered the group some advice on how to help black people. And this is Steve Miller quoting, right? "The real problem facing black communities are not gasp conservative commentators, but the fact that, as some studies have shown, about 194,300 black men between the ages of 20 and 29 are sentenced federal or state prisoners, compared to 126,600,000 white men and 103,300 Hispanic men. 2/3 of black children are born out of wedlock, and 12% of black students in the 8th grade are at or above a proficient reading level." These are the words of somebody who's working for this president right now. Okay, remember now, He was a first-year college student when he wrote these words. You know, people don't change. Ooh, people really don't change. Um, Especially racist white Americans. They're the hardest group of people to change in the world, yo. Back to Nicholas. Regarding feminism and the question of the pay gap, Miller brought out many tired arguments about devolving into a puerile Jeremiah on the loss of gender roles. This is Miller words now. The truth is, even in modern day America, there is a place for gender roles. I simply wouldn't feel comfortable hiring a full-time male babysitter or driving down the street and seeing a group of women carrying heavy steel pillars on to a construction site. It's those differences that make the opposite sex so wonderful, so compelling, so attractive, Miller embraced, asserting his heterosexuality. But of course, Hollywood was out to convert us into sexual deviants. Shows like Queer as Folks, The L Word, Will and Grace, and Sex and the City all do their part to promote alternative lifestyles and erode traditional values, he lamented in another piece. Muslims were an easy target. Islamic terrorists have declared holy war on the United States. They have declared a death sentence on every man, woman, and child living in this country, Miller explained, after calling Ted Kennedy an unpatriotic traitor for denouncing Bush's torture program. In a separate article on the 5th anniversary of 9/11, he set his sights on undocumented immigrants in quite the rhetorical leap. We give driver's license to illegal aliens. That's a lie. Meanwhile, our enemy yearns to attack with all the force of September 11 multiplied 100 times. Steve Miller, stop lying. You sound like a racist redneck. I mean, you are, but I'm sorry. Miller has come a long way professionally from his bi-weekly college editorials in a college paper, but he doesn't seem to have grown much in the decade since. Miller time as he continues to attempt to impose his radical alt-right agenda to which a majority of Americans voted in opposition. From within the White House, we would all do well to heed his own column's parting words, and these are his words now from his column. And if the American nation is to survive and the cause of freedom along with it, then her people must love and protect her. History is filled with great nations now long gone. Tomorrow is promised to no one. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Thank you, sir. You have been quite introspective. Now the chopper is out trying to find whoever was involved in the shooting. I hope y'all heard of all those, you know what I mean? I don't know how well my mic is, you know what I mean? I hope y'all heard from the gunshots to the sirens to the chopper now. C. Nicholas Cuneo, MD, is a resident physician at the Harvard-affiliated combined program in the internal medicine and pediatrics at Brigham and Women's Hospital and Boston's Children's Hospital. He graduated from Duke University in 2008, where he was an undergraduate. Just like Dr. Nicholas here, there are hundreds of thousands and millions of other people who graduated from universities just like that all over the country with opinions as similar to Stephen Miller's who are spread apart and have kids who are going to be going to schools without black kids who they're not going to really know how the lives of others are affected by policies with similar views of people like Stephen Miller who are making decisions that affect me. You know, it's a cycle. It's a cycle thing. Man, that chopper looking for somebody. And this is an article from CNN, Politics, CNN.com, by Eugene Scott. I like that tie, Eugene. Nice and sharp. It says Trump campaign raking in money for 2020 disclosure show. It was published on April the 17th of 2017. That's like January, February, March, April, 3 months after he took office. they had all the game ready for 2020 because he thought that his buddy Vlad the puny man guy. He thought Vlad was still going to get away with what he did in 2016 and was going to keep helping him make sure he gets back in office in 2018. You know, he is trying. You know, he is trying very very hard. But the article by Eugene Scott on April the 17th of 2017 last year says Trump campaign is raking in money for 2020 disclosure show. President Donald Trump and the Republican Party are fast at work amassing a war chest for 2020, raking tens of millions of dollars before Trump even marks his 100th day in the White House. The Trump Campaign Committee, Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated, raised $7.1 million during the first 3 months of 2017, according to reports filed Friday with the Federal Elections Commission. Got the seed. Hey. Can't go wrong with no James Brown, y'all. According to the Federal Election Commission, the Republican National Committee took in more than $29.3 million in the first 2 months, with the latest month's data unavailable. The Trump Make America Great Again Committee, namely the Trump Make America White Again Committee, a joint venture between the Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee, collected more than $9.8 million in total receipts at the end of the first quarter. And Trump victory, which includes the Trump campaign, the RNC, and 11 states parties, received about $67,000 total during the same period. Forming joint fundraising committees allows higher contributions from donors. So, if Trump is running here, you got about 20 other races running different campaigns. They can all join together and create one thing called Trump Victory, and they can all collect money together and break bread. Much of the Trump's fundraising comes from small donations, suggesting that his grassroots base could play a bigger role than wealthy benefactors in his quest to stay in the White House for 8 years. Oh God, please don't. Oh good God, please don't. Oh good God, please don't. Not 8 years. Not 8 years. Oh good God, please don't. I know if you're a Trump supporter right now, you're probably looking at the realization that that is a harbinger of potential things to come. But please don't hate me for that. Even you know this man is not right. Please. However, Trump's campaign committee has spent about $6.3 million during the first quarter of 2017. That includes giving more than $70,000 to the campaign committee's manager, Michael Glassner, who was Trump's deputy campaign manager, and more than $40,000 to John Pence. Vince Pence, Vice President Mike Pence's nephew, who serves as the committee's deputy executive director. Everybody eating, yo. My man making sure all his people eat. Hey, I don't blame you, Whitey. Go ahead, man. Spread that white word around. Trump's campaign also paid more than $28,000 to Bannon's Strategic Advisors, the consulting firm of Steve Bannon, Trump's chief strategist for what was categorized as executive assistant. He was. He ain't with him no more. He got fired, you know what I mean? His ass got let go quicker than you can say